Okay, YouTube stream is going. Okay, let's get into it. So, I need to do some reading for a seminar I have tomorrow. I feel like a good thing to do on stream. So there's a couple of articles that we need to kind of read or at least skim. And so this is the first one. This is an actual, like, I think, academic journal article. And so for this one, let's read the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. And I'm going to be taking some notes on these as we go. Okay, so this article is Making the Grade, the Effect of Teacher Grading Standards on Student Outcomes. So one mechanism by which teachers might affect student learning is through the grading standards they set for their classrooms. However, the effects of grading standards on student outcomes are understudied. Using administrative data, what year is this? 2023. Okay. Using administrative data that links individual students and teachers in Algebra 1 classrooms from 2006 to 2016, we examine the effects of teachers' grading standards on student learning and attendance. Hardlocked! Oh my god! The official first. Congratulations. Hope you're having a good day. High teacher grading standards increase both contemporaneous student achievement in Algebra 1 and performance in subsequent math classes. So higher standards increase student achievement and performance. I don't know why the word contemporaneous is here. Like, it's doing both of these two things at the same time? I'm a little confused by what this word means in this sentence, but heterogeneity analyses find that these impacts are positive and similar in size for students of different backgrounds, aptitudes, and school contexts. Okay. How long is the introduction? Just an idea. Oh, that's not that long at all. We're gonna skip over all this middle stuff. Oh wait, I see an equation. This looks like the name of an enemy in Valheim. Y sub IJGST? IJT again index students, teachers, and years. G and S index grade. Okay, this isn't important. We're not supposed to read this part, but like 4 subscripts is a little much. And also, this is a freaky theta. This is a weird font choice. How long is the conclusion? Ooh, I see a graph. This is a lot of tables. Oh my god. Conclusion. Oh, it's not. Okay, this is not that much reading. So I don't have an idea of how to paste this. Okay, so introduction. A robust consensus in the economics of education agrees that teachers play a pivotal role in shaping students' educational and life trajectories. Effective teachers improve student learning. Really, we need citations for this? I mean, okay, fair. Attendance, non-cognitive skills, and long-run outcomes such as college entry and earnings. What is an example of a non-cognitive skill? Jackson 2018, Craft 2019. Jackson. Non-test score outcomes. Social emotional. Okay. That's what I need to see. Like social emotional competencies. Um, However, while there's agreement that access to effective teachers is important, relatively little is known about the pedagogical practices that make teachers more or less effective. This gap in the literature limits our ability to train and identify effective teachers. I wouldn't have assumed that this gap exists, if you had asked me. Okay. Various stakeholders have speculated that high grading standards improve student outcomes. This is an intriguing idea, as teachers' expectations of grading practice are likely malleable. Teachers can use grades to convey unsatisfactory progress or effort to students and parents, or satisfactory. However, economic theory yields mixed predictions regarding whether and which students will benefit from high grading standards, as some students may disengage from school rather than increase their efforts. Whether and for whom high grading standards are beneficial is therefore an empirical question with scant compelling evidence. The current study addresses these questions. Figlio and Lucas provide the best evidence to date. Analyzing 4 years of administrative data from Alachua, Haktua county schools in Florida, they find that among 3rd to 5th graders, teachers with high grading standards improved math and reading performance relative to their peers with lower standards. And importantly, that no one is harmed by exposure to high grading standards. The authors identified teachers' grading standards by taking the average of their B students' end of course standardized test scores. So the students that earned a B in the class took some other standardized test. The idea is that when a teacher's B students had higher, this apostrophe is in the wrong place, had higher standardized test scores than B students of other teachers, they learn more and thus experience more rigorous grading standards. Okay, yeah, fair. I mean, this is only as good as a standardized test, I guess, but you got to make do with what you have. The current study formalizes and extends Gershenson, who replicated the basic findings of Figlio and Lucas in a different context, 8th and 9th grade Algebra 1 classrooms in North Carolina public schools. Our findings are consistent with those of Figlio and Lucas in that students typically benefit from exposure to high grading standards and that no students are harmed. Specifically, we extend this literature in 3 ways. First, we examine effects of grading standards on achievement in other subjects and on student attendance and suspensions, which measure school engagement. Second, we investigate how teachers' grading standards vary across subjects and consider alternative approaches to characterizing a teacher's grading standards. Yeah, depending on the subject, it might need to be different. That's a good point. Finally, investigate how grading standards effects might vary across students of different relative ability levels within the classroom. That part of the song just freaked me out. Oh my god. How it panned like from left to right. Okay, let's go down to the conclusion. Spoiler alert. Okay, teachers' expectations for students can exert tremendous influence on their educational achievement and attainment. One way that teachers operationalize high expectations is via high grading standards. We show that in North Carolina, teachers with high grading standards have large, significant positive effects on students' performance in Algebra 1 and in subsequent math courses. Smaller, marginally significant reductions in student absenteeism are observed as well. This is true across all student demographic groups, school types, and achievement levels. No students appear to be harmed by exposure to high grading standards. Surprising to hear. Hey, Mohammed. The effects on absence in subsequent math classes are consistent with the idea that exposure to high grading standards increases student effort and general engagement with school, and the change lasts beyond the current class. These findings are related to two literatures in the economics of education. First, that high grading standards improve achievement is consistent with evidence from North Carolina that teachers' educational expectations of students improve test scores. I have to read the sentence again. High grading standards improve achievement is consistent. Evidence from North Carolina. Okay, yeah. From a nationally representative sample that teacher expectations affect college completion. Mom, this is an academic paper on how grading standards affect students. I'm just kind of skimming it. Like, I'm just reading the conclusion of it right now. Basically, the idea that high grading standards can actually make students learn more without negatively impacting them. Hey, Singular Moduli, welcome in. Similarly, these results align with studies of the long-run effects of exposure to biased teachers, where biases are identified by comparing the grade scores assigned to blind and non-blind tests. These results align. I wonder what type of bias. Maybe just in general. So, well, what is this long-run effect? Is it good or bad? I assume it's bad, but... I don't know. I guess they're not going to answer that. Second, grading standards are fundamentally linked to the phenomenon of grade inflation. Historically, grade inflation, low grading standards is more prevalent in schools serving economically disadvantaged communities. Coupled with our findings, this suggests that disproportionate exposure to lax grading standards contributes to socioeconomic disparities in educational outcomes. Ooh, that's an interesting point. More broadly, school leaders and policymakers should be concerned that grade inflation seems to be increasing at all types of K-12 schools, as well as in colleges and universities. Besides reducing achievement and effort in obfuscating the areas in which students could strive for improvement, this reduces the signal-to-noise ratio of grades. As a signal in the labor market, it might influence student choices about major, graduate school, and occupation. Reduces the signal-to-noise ratio. So there's more noise. Right? This wording is unnecessarily complicated for what they're trying to convey. One possible response and a way to introduce or increase standards is to require that students take certain courses or curricula in high school. Is that not already a thing? This has been done in a handful of states with relatively little net benefit, as any modest achievement gains are often offset by a decrease in high school completion rates. Ooh, the music might be a little bit hot. Hope that's better. Jacob et al., for example, studied the implementation of Michigan merit curriculum and find modest gains in ACT scores coupled with small drops in graduation rates among relatively low-performing students. Similarly, many states have included exit exams as a requirement for graduation, really, which also tend to reduce graduation rates among lower performing and economically disadvantaged students. Yeah. Because we find that all students benefit from high grading standards, the more moderate policy change of increasing grading standards and relying on continuous rather than binary performance indicators, course grades rather than high-stakes pass-fail tests, can capture the benefits of high standards for all students, including high achievers, while avoiding the negative consequences of the latter. I like that. You know what? I was wondering where this footnote was. So number one, that was up back in the introduction. What was the context? We got that one footnote. Here we go. Economic theory yields mixed predictions regarding whether and which students would benefit from high grading standards. Some students may disengage from school rather than increase their efforts. That's where the one was. So what are they saying in this footnote? I guess it's an endnote. Excuse me. On the one hand, high grading standards raise the cost of low effort and low performance in school, which might induce both students and parents to become more engaged. Similarly, low grading standards might make it difficult for students to identify areas for improvement or create a false sense of achievement that leads to complacency. More nefariously, students may interpret low standards as the teacher not believing their abilities to succeed. Is that nefarious? Creating a self-fulfilling prophecy in which students fail to believe in their own potential. On the other hand, high grading standards that yield low grades might discourage students, particularly those from historically marginalized backgrounds, and cause them to further disengage from academics. Leo, this is a paper on how grading standards affect students. It's part of a seminar I'm in about math pedagogy, to just read the introduction and conclusion of this paper and take some notes on it. And this paper is basically making an argument that higher grading standards can lead to better student performance without a negative impact, theoretically. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so what notes are we going to take away from this? Just kind of rereading what they're talking about here. Okay, so central argument is that higher grading standards. Well, actually, okay, it's that the status quo tends to have low grading standards. In that raising these grading standards can increase student performance by inducing engagement, which is a nice way of saying forcing them to study. Yeah, I think it's okay to have high grading standards, but the teacher has to actually be good at their job if they're going to do that. And actually want to help students get good grades. Go back down to the conclusion. We should first think of them as an incentive. No, in my mind they're meant to be a measure, at least. They can serve as an incentive where a bad grade would get you in trouble if you're, I mean, but yeah. And a high grade can help you would like achieve your goals, but I don't know. That's how I see it. What is higher grading standard? The opposite. If you have a high grading standard, you're grading harshly, and students generally get lower grades, or they have to work harder to get a high grade. It is a little bit backwards. Grades are an incentive to learn such work. Yeah. No way, I guess, but I feel like that's like a level removed from what they fundamentally are. First college exam average had a 55% average. Yeah, that's the type of thing where like they're just trying to filter students out, and that's just being jerks, I think. Um, uh, Raising grading standards does not appear to have a negative impact. Hey, Rex. If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. I mean, I feel like that metaphor isn't the greatest, but I like the spirit of what it's saying. I think having classroom 55% counts as an A would be interesting. Yeah, that's fair too. That's basically, I guess, grading on a curve. Grades are the incentive by which students do the homework, exams, studying for the most part. You move them and treated it the same, and he just wouldn't do that work. Um, you also don't believe in curves. I don't. I'm hesitating with you because like there's still a measure. Like sure, they're also an incentive, but I think there's still like a measure first. That meow like almost jump scared me. Gives perverse incentive that your classmates doing worse equals better results for you. Much of life is basically on a curve. Yeah, curves are kind of weird like that. Or like if one student does better than the rest, then they mess up, like they mess the curve up for everyone else. Jay-Z, hey, welcome in. Oh, I mean, I still think of them as a measure first. They don't have to be a good measure, but to me, that like they just they are a measure first. Curve D's, it's true, Vossen. Curve D's nuts. Um, you have something good. What's that? Um, I do want to take note. They make an interesting point that high grading standards are better than binary performance indicators. increasing student performance, then binary performance indicators, high stakes, pass fail exams. Range of schooling is paper concerned with? I think they're talking about. That's a good question. Not university. I guess high school, because they're talking about Algebra 1. The population of rats in the research laboratory is growing exponentially by tripling every 9 months. If the laboratory started with 100 rats, what is the rat population in the laboratory after 4 years? Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, the rats are definitely going to be in charge in this scenario. Okay. So yeah, our formula here, A equals PE to the KT. This is kind of like a generic formula for exponential growth. P is going to be your initial population. And K is going to be your growth rate that we have to find. Like, we're going to use this bit of information about tripling every 9 months to find K. Gotta get back to work. All right, Leo, thanks for popping in. I'll see you around. So we're starting with 100 rats, so we can fill that bit of information in immediately. Also, I guess I should say A is a number of rats at time t. Irindale, is this a good enough approximation? What would a computer program output? I mean, if you gave it this exponential equation, it would output the same thing. There's definitely other better models you could use for a situation like this, though. Slight GPX2, you have an interesting question. You have a curve gamma in 2D. Fiber bundle of lines. I have a metric G of curve that shows its curvature. I want to project this curve onto IR. The protect information dots that curve contains. I think you're talking about some math that I haven't learned about, like GPX. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure I have anything that I can say about that. I mean, I don't really understand what you said at all, to be honest. So I'm sorry, but I don't have any ideas. um, I'm sorry. I wish I did. Thank you for trying with me, but I'm not even sure of who I could like refer you to that might know. Um, yeah. So for Jay-Z's question, at least, as Boston says, like if we were to plug in t equals 0, we get e to the k times 0. K times 0 is just 0 though, and e to the 0 is just 1. So it becomes just 100. And so that's good. At time 0, we should have 100 because that's what we're starting with. The next bit of information, like, so we want to find k now. Because our end goal is to plug in, if t is in years, we want to eventually plug in 4 for t to get our answer. But before we can do that, we need to figure out what k is. So if the population triples every 9 months, that means we know what the population will be in 9 months after time 0. So the phrase tripling at every 9 months, in math, we can translate that to be, we know we're going to have the point, if this is like the point t comma a, well, the time 9 months, if we're measuring time in years, which I think that's easier to do in this problem, 9 months is 3/4 of a year. And the way that I figured that out is just by doing 9 months divided by 12 months. And then you can cancel the 3's. And then we started with 100 rats, and then it tripled. So that means we have 300. So we now have a point that we can plug into this equation here and figure out what k is. So let's do that. So 300 is equal to 100 e to the k times 3/4. Now we have to solve this equation for k. We're going to need some logarithms, but that's okay. Before we do anything with logs, let's divide each side by 100. And we're going to find 3 is equal to e to the, all right, that is 3/4 k. Now's a good time to use logarithms because we want to get this k outside of the exponent. So translating this equation into log, it'll be log base e, which I'm going to call ln for natural log. That's what we usually say that. So, sorry, ln, yeah, ln of 3 is equal to 3/4 k. And yeah, as Boston says, you can think of it as taking the natural log of each side. I think about it slightly differently, but you can see the same result. And now just one more step to isolate k, which is multiply each side by 4/3. So that cancels those two. So we're going to get k is equal to 4/3 ln 3. At this point, you could plug this into a calculator and get a decimal. I'm just going to keep it like this, just because that's what I feel like doing, and I'll get a calculator at the very end. So we figured out what k is. We now have everything we need to answer the actual question, which is what is population after 4 years? So our equation is now a equals 100 e, k is 4/3 ln 3 t. Let me catch up with the chat. But ABCD be a quadrilateral inscribed in a circle gamma. Ooh. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mohammed. I don't think I can do that. And hey, BR Gaming. So yeah, this is our new equation. Let's let t equals 4 and find a. And that'll be our answer. A is equal to 100 e to the 4/3 ln 3 times 4. And that's something we can just plug into a calculator. Like we could simplify that a bit. But actually, depending on your teacher's style, they may want the simplified thing before you plug it into a calculator. So I'll clean it up first. 100e. So I'll do that 4 times that 4 is 16. And there's a trick. When you have e to an ln, these sort of cancel because exponentials and logarithms are inverses. You have to be careful about how it cancels though, because this 16/3 is still in the exponent. So actually, I'm going to rewrite it in a different way that might make this more clear. So here I just used exponent rules. When you have two things multiplied in the exponent, you can write it like this with parentheses, and it's the same thing. And this hopefully makes it more clear for why, or like how this next step will work. This is e to the log base e, so these are going to cancel, and the 3 comes down. These are inverse functions of each other. So we get just 3 to the 16 over 3. And that's about as simple as we can get this. This is ready for a calculator. Times 3 to the 16 over 3. If you do plugs into your calculator, remember to do parentheses on the exponent, otherwise you're gonna get the wrong result. And looks like we're gonna have 35,046. We can round that up. I mean, actually, when you're talking about populations, it's common to always round it down. I would say this isn't like a super important point, but it doesn't make any sense to have 0.6 of a rat. And so often we'll just round it down because of that. You're not wrong to round it up either, though. 35,046. Rats. It's a lot of rats. The things that are approximations, yeah. So yeah, I hope that helps. Was this Jay-Z? Well, I don't know if you have any questions about what I did here. Jake? Okay. Thanks for the follow. All right, let me know if you have anything else. If not, I'm gonna go back to what I was doing before. Okay, so we were trying to decide what was important enough to put here. A significant question is whether high standards will make students disengage instead. Particularly, I think the footnote was talking about this piece. End note. Particularly those from historically marginalized backgrounds. That's the piece that I wanted. Shouldn't happen, but that seems too good to be true. My opinion higher grading standards needs to be accompanied by good teaching practices and a willingness to help students succeed. No. We did not need the number E at all there. That's just a thing where, like, math people just love to insert E wherever they can. But really for, like, for populations, when you're talking about the time it takes to double the population or triple it, the way better base is 2 or 3 or whatever. Like, if you're talking about doubling time, use base 2. If you're talking about tripling time, use base 3. Same thing with, like, the half-life of elements or even, like, pharmaceutical drugs. Like, base half is way better than base E. Yeah, and we could even use base 10 too if we wanted. Uwas Labs mock-up of the Demon Core is now a Facebook meme. Have you seen it? If you know, you know. I do not know, Dojo. I know of Uwas Labs. I've hardly watched him, though. Is being a Facebook meme, is that, like, does that mean that you've made it? Linux physics will make students disengage instead, particularly people who were forced to take the course in the second semester, even though he doesn't want to and has other more fun and cool PD courses to take. PD courses are pretty fun. I was just looking at what courses I'm going to take for next quarter. And I think there's going to be 2 PD classes coming up for me. I mean, I'm definitely taking one of them. Like, I have to take one of them. The other one, I might look for, like, outside department classes to take. But when I've done that before, I haven't had much success finding a class that seems interesting and doable. So I'm probably going to end up taking that in-department second PD class too. Demon Core is an experiment where a guy was using a screwdriver to hold up a radiation experiment that led to a stupid death. Really? Let me Google that. Just gonna cover the screen in case something weird comes up. Okay, no, this isn't weird. Production of an atomic bomb? The screwdriver slipped? Oh my god. By the Manhattan Project. That alert is ridiculous. Oh, Benno, thank you for the follow. Demon Core is basically a nuke bomb. It's a pair of semi-spheres that just blow critical mass for explosion. Kyle did a fantastic video about this. Yeah, sure, if you want to drop it. I won't, like, watch it right now, but maybe after stream or something. Two criticality accidents occurred at the Los Alamos Laboratory in New Mexico. Or is accidentally put into critical configuration. Two physicists suffered acute radiation syndrome, died shortly after. They didn't mention the screwdriver thing. Skella shit, thanks for the follow. I think Feynman had selling one of his books where someone was pounding on some uranium with a hammer. Okay. Do they have a picture of the screwdriver? Okay, wait, I should just control F, screwdriver. Half sphere is seen, but the core inside is not. The beryllium hemisphere is held up with a screwdriver. Okay, he's holding that up with a screwdriver right now, but I don't know. Sounds good, Vasan. What's wrong with hammering uranium? It won't. I mean, I don't imagine you would make it explode, but I can't imagine that's good for your health. Scientists referred to this flirtation with a nuclear chain reaction as tickling the dragon's tail, based on a remark by physicist Richard Feynman. Oh, here's where they talk about it. By Stalin's own unapproved protocol, the shims were not used. The top half of the reflector is resting directly on the bottom half at one point, while 180 degrees from this point, the gap was maintained by the blade of a flat-tip screwdriver in Slotin's hand. Wow. Given to bravado. Oh, he's just an arrogant dude. Screwdriver slipped outward a fraction of an inch when he was loading the top reflector, allowing the reflector to fall into place around the core. That's like something from a movie. Holy crap. So wait, why was there a second? Oh wait, oh, this was the second. What was the first one? Um, this one doesn't seem the product of arrogance from my skimming. It's just an accident. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of this. Mess with nuclear stuff, energy output can escalate within microseconds. Yeah, that makes sense. In third year physics, we learned about the nuclear bomb equation derived from the PD diffusion. Really? That you can use diffusion for that? Like, is it really called the nuclear bomb equation? Am I gonna get put on a list if I just Google this? Nuclear bomb equation. I'm just seeing articles about like E equals MC squared, but that's not like. This is an article hosted on Stanford's website. Maybe it'd be on the heat equations page. on Wikipedia because they have applications there. Applications, here we go. What's up, syntax? Orthogonal vector spaces? Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm that familiar, but I know what they are. Like, the inner product of all the vectors is 0, unless with it's with itself. And an orthogonal complement. I might sort of know what that is, but orthogonal. I don't know if I'm thinking of the right thing. Maybe I have seen this, but maybe not in the way that I was thinking of. It's a subspace of V. I need a simpler explanation. But W be a subspace in Rn. Its orthogonal complement is a subspace W perpendicular. All V in Rn such that V dot W is equal to W for all. Okay. Okay. It is. Okay, yes. So if you have. Ooh. Well, yeah. It's like, if you have a vector space that. Well. Yes. Since W is a subspace of Rn, W could be like R2, and then V could exist in R3. You have two vectors of R4, V, W linearly independent. I need their orthogonal complement. Vector space has orthogonal to the span of V and W. I think this is just linear algebra. Okay, so since you have two vectors in R4, their span is only 2, or their dimension. Zach, thank you so much for the raid. I hope your stream went well. Welcome in, people. We're just working on a question from syntax error here. Once we're done with this question, unless there's another question that pops up, the plan for today was to do some note-taking on math pedagogy stuff, and so we were just talking about the impact of grading standards on student outcomes. And this paper actually makes the argument that higher grading standards lead to better outcomes, or at least they can. but we're taking a break from this to work on syntax errors question, but that's what we have coming up. In 3D, an orthogonal complement is just the vector normal to the plane from two vectors, right? In 4D, there are two orthogonal complements, right? I agree with that. I don't know if there's a systematic way of doing this. Like um if these vectors were in R3, we could use like a cross product to find a third vector. Unit vectors AB, such as span AB plus span BW is R4. Headshot. Yeah, this is like a little more like you probably wouldn't see this in a introductory linear algebra class. That's all I've actually had formally, but like I've gotten enough tastes of like higher level linear algebra that I understand what this is asking. Um, Finding the kernel or the null space. Uh, Maybe. Clonk. You are the captain of your soul. Ooh, that's a cool one. You will discover your hidden talents. Oh, that's a good one too. See, I guess the span of the vectors we're given is just every linear combination of them. What we could do is like yeah, syntax that's what actually pretty much what I was about to say right there. It would be very annoying to calculate the determinant by hand, but if you can use Wolfram Alpha, this you could reduce this question down to guessing and checking. Um, I'd like to get a more clever way of doing this. Uh, yeah, I like another thing that I'm thinking is we could take this 4x4 matrix idea. Sorry, I guess V is a bad letter to use here. Maybe A and B. Like we could also do row reductions on this and at least get like ones and zeros there. I don't know if that's all that helpful though. Hmm. Yeah, like then determinant comes easy. Fair. Yeah, yeah, that's true. It would give us conditions. Um, it's gonna get a little lengthy. Is there something more clever we can do? I mean, I feel like linear algebra has so many tricks that like that. Uh, I feel like that there's a really elegant way of doing this that it would be nice to figure out. Girdle, life is too short to hold grudges. Ooh, that's another good fortune. I like that one. Oh, do we get a system of equations if we do this dot if we do all these dot products? Um, it would be I don't know if a very big system of equations. You hold grudges until you die. Honestly, that's pretty based. No, this system of equations is bad. Too many unknowns. You're trying it? Okay. I guess I'll try it too. Minus, what should this? We're subtracting off something times row 2, 3 over 2. Or row 1. What's that, Dojo? Well, so how does finding the null space help? Like, I know how to get the the null space, but like, why is that nice? Oh, because it's perpendicular to the column space. Okay. That's the elegant way. Wait, do I have that right, or is it the row space? I uh Gilbert String would be ashamed of me right now. Um, I always get this confused because like there's where is this book? Here it is. I could just Google this way easier than what I'm doing right now. Yeah, we need to like pad it with zeros. That would make sense. Column space is perpendicular to... Okay, null space of A transpose. That's the thing I was concerned about. So row space perpendicular to null space. So we want to put the vectors in rows, I think. Not columns. Hey, Raven. I guess it shouldn't matter. If we did the columns, I think that just means the answer would come up in the rows instead. But yeah, Dojo, you're absolutely right to be thinking about the null space. Thank you for bringing that up. So either way, this row reduction stuff, I guess, is the right idea. We're just thinking about it for the wrong reason. Why wouldn't I transpose it? Because I think it just means we need to transpose the result. Actually, maybe it is better if we transpose it. That could get... Yeah, maybe it's going to be easier in the later stages if we do transpose it. Hmm. Okay. You got it? All right. Well, I'm going to solve it anyway just because I want to do it for myself. But this was a good question. I know how to find or like um it's it's just getting the right setup for this in the context of this problem is just like the weird bit. But I think I want to follow the link that Jed included. I think this is going to directly give us the vectors. If you do it for the transpose, I think it's not wrong. Just the answer you get, you need to do a little bit more work with. Oh, okay. Fair enough, Dojo. Did Chris the King overtake Paul? Maybe, Zach. Actually, this is basically already lower triangular. Oh my god, Zach, I just remembered. I have another thing that I wanted that like I need to say thanks to you for, because yesterday in the ODEs class / like asymptotic analysis class, with no explanation, the professor just started dropping. We're talking about monodromy and about solutions to the differential equation over a path or something. And she started just dropping stuff about open covers and compact spaces and finite subcovers with no explanation of what those things actually mean. And I'm like, another reason why it was so great that I took Zach's analysis classes, because I remember you put questions about covers on there. um, yeah. Okay, so how do we, what do we do with a system like this? From the second equation, I guess we'll do the top equation first. Hey, Rushback. 2x1 plus 3x2 minus x3 plus x4 equals 0, minus x2 plus 2x3 plus 2x4 equals 0. Bastard Cantor makes us all work a little harder. Yeah. Okay, so what I think how we would get the two vectors out of this equation is we can eliminate this equation already has x1 eliminated, so we can solve for x2 in terms of x3 and x4. And then we can eliminate x2 from this equation up here. Okay, and then I guess we can call this a substitution in for that x2. You could also like do 3 times this equation and add it, but it'll be the same result. Rigor is for the birds. I'm trying to figure that one out. I don't know if I can though. 6x3 minus x3 is 5x3. 6x4 plus x4 is 7x4. So x1 is minus 5 over 2 x3 minus 7 over 2 x4. So these two equations. So x3 and x4 are whatever they want to be. Those are the free parameters, variables, whatever. 5 over 2x3 minus 7 over 2x4. Free variables, thank you. 2x3 plus 2x4. And then you can split those two up. This is a thing in linear algebra that I always get mixed up with, which is why I wanted to do this problem. And I guess we can split this up based on x3s and x4s. And that's how we get the two separate vectors. 5 over 2, 2, 1, 0. Plus x4 minus 7 over 2, 2, 0, 1. There we go. And you can choose any real numbers you want for x3 and x4, and I guess you want 2 sets. And those are your answers. Noish. Scam Jeff Bozo out of a prime sub when the Pokemon badges were live. The Pokemon badges are so good. Like I really like your Chikorita one. I've seen a Totodile one that I really like. But I'm pretty happy with my RuneScape badge too. G. Okay, I guess we'll go back to Math Pedagogy stuff. Let me close out of my trillion tabs I have open now. You also have a... Ooh. It's a good banana. Simply you being ironic, birds are carefree. For the most part, aren't particularly worried about stone... I don't know how to pronounce that. Setch? Compactification? Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, so we read through the introduction and conclusion of this article here. Hyperbolic secant, it's true. Effective teacher grading standards on student outcomes. I think I've already written the notes that I wanted to write. For this paper, but my thoughts on it, I guess the first theory I think what things the paper were claiming. So they said that the status quo is grading standards are kind of low, grading inflation is happening, and that if you raise grading standards, you increase student performance by inducing engagement, which is kind of cold for phrasing, but whatever. At the same time, raising grading standards, they said, does not appear to have a negative impact on students, which is kind of a bold claim. But yeah, and so they also said high grading standards are better at increasing student performance than binary performance indicators like a high stakes pass-fail exam. Significant question is whether high standards will make students disengage instead, particularly those from historically marginalized backgrounds. The paper says that shouldn't happen, but in my opinion, that it seems hard to like claim that for sure. And that overall, I just kind of feel like if you're going to raise grading standards, you also need to raise your teaching standards and try to help students actually succeed in the class. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I thought of this paper. We've got 4 other things to read through. Not necessarily completely, but at least like skim them. So the second thing is the neuroscience behind productive struggle. Challenging tasks spur the production of myelin, a substance that increases the strength of brain signals. Here are 4 strategies to incorporate productive struggle into your lessons. How long is this? Not that long. Okay. It was a simple experiment, but it changed the way we understand learning. 2 groups of 8-year-olds tossed beanbags at a target 3 feet away. For the next 12 weeks, half of the kids continued to practice with the same target, while the other half practiced targets at 2 and 4 feet away. At the end of the experiment, both groups completed a final test with the original target 3 feet away. Surprisingly, the group that practiced with targets 2 and 4 feet away performed significantly better than the group practicing at 3 feet. Really? Why did the group that never practiced at 3 feet perform better than the group that always practiced at 3 feet? The answer, it turned out, is the increased difficulty created by productive struggle. Students' learning strategies that are most effective for students can feel like the least effective. Productive struggle leads to better learning, and the reason is due to a white substance in students' brains called myelin. Huh. I could see practicing for 4 feet making it easier for 3 feet, but why would 2 feet be better? Hausdorff on golf. You have to be old to know that reference to 1987 Tim Horton Conway movie. I do not know that one. Challenging task is to read this. It's the connective tissue of an axon, IRC, myelin. Okay, I never heard of it. So when I struggle to learn, I learn better. That's what this article is saying. I mean, I definitely have felt that way myself, where I just kind of expect to struggle with math and eventually I'll get through it. Yeah, it's kind of view struggle as part of the process, but with math at least. Smart brains are efficient brains. The role of myelin in learning. We sometimes treat learning like a switch that is turned on or off. Either students learn something or they don't. But learning is a spectrum, with surface learning and a lack of skill on one side, and deep learning and a mastery on the other. To better understand learning, we need to know what happens in students' brains when they move from surface learning to deep learning. When you get through it is so great though, it is. Like the last time I streamed, I was struggling with this bad boy with chi-square random variables. And after going to office hours and getting some hints, including an approximation that we never learned about in class, that you can't do the problem without, I was able to get through this question last night. You were almost right about myelin. A lipid-rich material that in most vertebrates surrounds the axons of neurons to insulate them and increase the rate at which electrical impulses pass along the axon. Huh. I've heard people joking about how their neurons are lubed up, and I feel like this is the lube right here. The myelinated axon can be likened to an electrical wire, insulating material, myelin around it. Unlike plastic covering an electrical wire, myelin does not form a single long sheath over the entire length of the axon. Myelin and sheaths part of an axon known as the internodal segment. Fair enough. Okay. Learning involves three key components of the brain: neurons, synapses, and myelin. Neurons are nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord that have branches to receive brain signals and a wire to send messages to other neurons. Neurons do not touch each other. They they practice social distancing. And the space separating the wire of one neuron from the branches of another is called a synapse. The space separating the wire is the synapse. Wait, so a synapse is empty space? The hell? Or just the space, not necessarily the empty space, but just the space in general? Dookie, good morning. Hope you're doing well. It's like salt in there. Ions? I don't know. It's been a bit of a ride, but you're doing all right. Fair enough. Glad to hear it. Ooh, Wikipedia has an LLM flag now. This is a new one for me. How the signal progresses? Okay. Give me Chikorita. I think it's too late for the Pokemon icons. I don't know though. Not I guess it's a tangent from homework. So I'm signed up for a seminar on pedagogy and applied math. And our task for this week is to read through these 4 articles about like struggle in learning. And this is the second article, and I was just confused by their definition of a synapse. So I was looking for more information on that. Why can't I find... There we go. I was confused by the synapse being the space separating the wire of one neuron. I thought a synapse was the actual like substance, but this article is saying it's the space. My brain is looking at brain on Wikipedia. That's true. Elms are infuriating or infiltrating Wikipedia. That makes sense, and it's unfortunate. Can't someone horns directly from a Hellbeast store-bought is fine. Signal does not continue if not enough ions are released. Fair enough. Um, my neurons are cooked. Learning occurs when experiences connect neurons together. This learning leads to thoughts and behaviors when brain signals travel from neuron to neuron. Imagine students' brains as a field. Connecting learning. You know what? My brain goes to math field. So, you know, it's associative, it has inverses or whatever. Creating learning through new connections among neurons is like clearing a path, making a dirt road in that field. 3D print shop on Etsy. That is a thing that Etsy would have. Decent to look at, but atrocious to touch. But like many things in life. At first, brain signals can travel, but not quickly or efficiently. But repeated practice, guided by feedback to correct errors, tells the brain that this dirt path is not sufficient. The brain responds by paving the roads so that signals can travel faster. Specialized cells called glial cells are the brain's construction workers. Myelin is the brain's pavement. When brain signals repeatedly travel through neurons, glial cells create myelin, a fatty substance that wraps around the wires called axons connecting the neurons. Myelin plays the essential role of making brain signals faster and stronger. The more the brain signal is practiced, the more myelin gets wrapped around the wire. Okay, yeah. You're saying the same thing a few times. When students first learn a skill, the connections between neurons are weak. Okay, yeah, sure. Four strategies for using productive struggle to enhance learning. Anytime a student learns a skill or concept, myelin is produced, making brain signals faster and stronger. Four strategies for using productive struggle to enhance learning are retrieval, interleaving, spacing, and mindfulness. Retrieval. Forgetting is surprisingly a vital part of learning. Really? Okay. A byproduct of the brain's need to prevent overload. Okay. Frequent practice tests force the retrieval of memories. Oh, yeah. Frequent practice tests force the retrieval of memories, telling the brain to make the signals more permanent. That makes sense. A great way to get students to retrieve is asking them to practice answering problem performing skills before reteaching lessons. Also, fill in the blank or short answer questions are better than multiple choice questions for retrieval. Since open-ended questions force students to actually recall information instead of simply testing their ability to recognize correct answers, that's a good point. Okay, interleaving. Why did the group of beanbag throwers that practice from 2 and 4 feet away outperform the group that practice from 3 feet? Although mixing up practice and interleaving may appear counterproductive, it significantly improves long-term performance. Productive struggle created from mixed practice tells the brain to construct better roads. To use interleaving, do not let students completely move on from previous learning. Include a few questions from past lessons on current tests. Cite a few moments each day to review previous concepts to help students deepen their learning. Whenever possible, ask students to use their long-term memory instead of solely relying on recent material. Students will make more mistakes, but these mistakes are productive because they build better roads in their brains. Fair. Spacing. Distributing practice evenly over time is one of the most helpful techniques for deepening learning because the brain can absorb only so much information at a time. Students benefit more from frequent shorter sessions than from longer ones. In fact, spacing saves time. Research shows that students who space out their learning outperform students who try to learn in longer sessions, even spacing results in less total time on a task. Use the concept of spacing by touching on important concepts multiple times a week in brief, regular sessions. That's like, I feel like that's why so many people like the Pomodoro, like, technique or whatever it's called. So it's basically just systematically doing spacing. I definitely do that informally where I'll, like, make progress on a problem in math and then I'll take a break and, like, watch Twitch for a bit or cook dinner or something and then come back to the problem. Yeah, I mean, how much spacing? I guess you would need to look at articles, Or like there needs to be like research on that, I guess. Okay, and then the last part, mindfulness. Taking a few minutes to breathe and pay attention to the present moment isn't just relaxing, it's also a skill in itself. Research shows that regular mindfulness sessions can stimulate the production of myelin, increasing connectivity within the brain. Several available apps can lead your students in mindfulness sessions that can be as short as a few minutes. That's true. There is a link. Let's see. Distributed practice and verbal recall tasks, a review and quantitative synthesis. Looks like I would need to... Ooh. Are they going to ask me to log in? Yeah, I think they are. Oh, well. I could go, like, open up and, like... I imagine, like, there's not going to be a clean answer. Learning is not about turning on a light. Instead, it's about constructing better and faster roads. Smart brains are efficient brains. That efficiency comes from myelinating brain wires. The repeated practice with specific feedback, though, makes learning feel more difficult. Typically, that pays off in the long run. I mean, okay, so the point of this article then is that it's better to repeatedly come back to a like skill and try and learn it multiple times than it is to just try and plow through it in one session because of how the production of myelin works or whatever. I thought that Math Stack Exchange needs to check that I'm human when looking up Sard's theorem in the null space of higher dimension manifold. Really? I don't think I've ever had them do like the CAPTCHA thing. For me. And I always dread it when like you do the are you a human thing and then it pops up with all the images like click on all the traffic lights or whatever. Because I apparently I'm part robot because it's taken me literally like 20 attempts to get through those in the past. Like, not exaggerating. So why is my lighting so weird? Are these images of Stuki's horns? 1 second, I'm gonna close my blinds. I think it's better. AI can't see that. I mean, those things have existed since before AI was big. I wonder if AI will be able to. I mean, AI is probably going to be able to do that soon, if not already, right? Because they're doing image recognition. Finishing number can't even submit it yet. Ooh, that you're just like that ahead. But congrats. Um. Okay, so for the second one, 44 grids of the same image are impossible as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Or like it'll be like click on all the bikes and one of them will be like a scooter and it's like, is that a bike? I don't know. Hey Teja. Um, crap, what was I gonna say about this? Uh, the main point is that struggling to learn something is productive, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Many attempts to learn something promotes myelin is production the right word? Hey Doomwood, what are my thoughts on Koopman operators? What is a Koopman operator? Koopman operator dynamical models. Should we go for like a week and a bit? Noish. It's a mixture of Ian Stuki horns, Highlands cattle horns, Texas longhorns. You pick out only the Ian Stuki ones. Oh yeah, I shamelessly stole that list of symbols, I think from a subreddit that does math help. Hockey stick identity? That sounds familiar? Oh, yeah. I've heard of this. Um, and it should be down in my about section if you're on desktop. I might have a command that does it too. Yeah, that command still works. Yeah, it should also be in the stream info though. The Koopman operator allows for handling nonlinear systems through a globally linear representation. The operator is infinite dimensional, necessitating finite approximations for which there is no overarching framework. This is a book in favor of, huh? Is a dynamical model? I'm afraid that I'm thinking of the wrong thing. This seems more like a machine learning thing or something. And when I think of a dynamical model, I think of like differential equations. But I think this is more machine learning-y. Is this... Eh. Uh, I it's probably not up to date. I think at some point I made this command. Oh, no, that's not up to date. I don't have a list really. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's meant for Daisy. Oh wait, I made a mistake in that. That's supposed to be an emote. You don't know why it makes sense of hockey stick identity? Like, what about this? The lollipop. I've never seen that character before. Um. Okay, so I think I know maybe what this is talking about. That is weird that you can apparently represent a finite dimensional nonlinear system with an infinite dimensional linear one. Oh, is that a symbol from logic? Oh, the math command. Do like a put an equation in there. That part sounds suspicious. Oh, like the finite dimensional nonlinear system by infinite dimensional linear. It's definitely surprising. Oh wait, this is differential equations. What the hell? Uh, yeah, I don't think I get this, Dumo. It'll take me a lot of time to actually understand what this is saying here. Scalar observable function? I don't know what an observable function is. Also, using x for time? Wait. Oh, okay, never mind, never mind. The derivative is with time. That's just me being dumb. With a smooth and Lipschitz flow. Just a funny phrase. Wait for chaotic function to be transformed into a linear one? Maybe. Oh. I don't know what a smooth and Lipschitz flow is either. So there's a couple of things I need to learn what they are to understand what they're actually doing here. Um, I know FNHC. Like, I feel like someone would brag about having a smooth Lipschitz flow, like if they're dropping bars. Hey, famished. Done. Yeah, I don't know what this is actually doing. Sorry, what? That's I interesting to hear that this is apparently possible. Um, I would need a lot more background though. Okay. So we were writing notes on this thing. Super intrigued by the whole concept. I mean, that would be cool. You're right to be intrigued. Your coffee beans, they're getting whittled away. How much? That's an impossible question to answer, Dumoulin. Like, if I just told you 6 months, would you be like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months? Um, yeah, I'm sorry, I really don't know how to answer that. What am I doing? Uh, I'm just taking notes on this article that we read. That I'm reading this article for like a seminar class that I'm in. I guess it will probably be like at least a, well, I don't know. If you studied only stuff you needed to know, probably not that long, and you didn't get too deep into the weeds. But like, if you want optimal background knowledge, that's like at least a year, probably multiple. It's freaking possible in 3 months. I bet you could learn enough to understand that paper in 3 months. I don't know about optimal background knowledge. GCG, how do you do 343 to the power of 2/3? With great difficulty, probably. We can think about that. I think we can factor 343, maybe do some, maybe there'll be something nice that pops out. I think 11 goes into it. Let me catch up with Twitch chat. Infinite dimensions make me suspicious. We don't even understand dimensions 4 to 10 yet that well. When you cross over to infinity, it always brings out a lot of difficulties. I mean, I heard of infinite dimensional things before. I just don't know about it in this context. I don't really know though. It's not my specialty. You ever been short on change and the clerk put the rest for you? Um, that would feel. I mean, that's nice of the clerk. I've had clerks do favors for me before, but not necessarily like that one. Watched a YouTube video yesterday where a person making an alcoholic drink distilled coffee with a vacuum pump and dry ice and made clear coffee distillate. Was that James Hoffman? I want to say that I've seen that same video. Um, that feels like a video that I feel like he did that. So yeah, so GCG in general, when you have a fractional power, you can think of it as 343 squared and then cube rooted, or you can think of it as 343 cube rooted and then squared. Like, you can choose whichever one you want. You're gonna try to email him? Oh, nice. Yeah, I really love James Hoffman's channel. If he hasn't done that exactly, he's done something similar. Like, clear coffee sounds really familiar. I have actually emailed him before because I had one coffee, like, he hosted like a coffee tasting where you could buy a coffee kit, make it at home, and then he did a live stream where you like go through and taste the coffee together with everyone else who bought a kit too, and him. And I streamed me tasting along to that, and I got his permission to show his stream on my stream. And I thought it was nice he even like replied at all. Well, it wasn't him; it was like someone on his team, but I thought I was just gonna get like ignored. Um. So yeah. I'm trying to. So I'm not sure which one is better yet. I'm hoping this one is better, but we need to figure out like. I think 11 goes into 343. Just knowing how multiples of 11 tend to look. Oh no, it doesn't. Well, that sucks. Is there anything you see a winning combination? What would it be? So like we can try and guess if this is a perfect cube, it might be like 7. It's going to be a weird number. So like 7 cubed, 7 squared is 49. So we times 7 again. That's 63. 273. That's not good. No, wait. Oh no. Sorry, that's 28 plus 6, 343. Oh, nice. It's 7 cubed. So that's just a lucky guess, I guess, but 7 cubed is equal to 343. So because 343 is a perfect cube, we definitely want to use that. Because what I'm going to do, 343 to the 1/3 squared, I'm going to do another layer of parentheses. 343 is 7 cubed to the 1/3 squared. And then, so when you have like a power parentheses and then a power, oops, these powers can multiply. You can do it in any order you want, but I'm going to do these two first, because 3 times 1/3 is just 1. So we just end up with 7 squared. And then 7 squared is 49. Let me write that neater. So yeah. If you're not allowed to use a calculator, that's how I would do that, GCG. Unfortunately, there is some guessing and checking involved with what the cube root of 343 is. But once you get past that, it's pretty, like, procedural, I guess. And if 343 was not a perfect cube, you're just kind of in trouble. It's not going to really simplify, to be honest. It's just going to be like a decimal if you plug it into a calculator. Yeah, thanks for the question. Let me know if you have any others. Okay, so 10 cubed? Oh, I mean, do you know the tricks with the trick for powers of 10 is if you have 10 cubed, it's a 1 with 3 zeros after. So 1,000. Like the exponent is the number of zeros. Unless you meant, or maybe you meant that in a different way, and you already knew that trick. The endless patterns of numbers, yeah. Some dogs are barking out there. Wow. Um. Okay, then the other thing I'll mention about this article is 4 strategies for productive struggle. Retrieval. Forgetting, then remembering. Relevant emote, yeah. Interleaving. How are we going to describe interleaving in a few words? Do not completely move on from previous learning. One E3, yep. Spacing. Shorter learning sessions with breaks. And then mindfulness. That's self-explanatory. Okay. I think that's good for Article 2. I'm learning how to learn. That's true. Gamification? That can help, yeah. Imagine learning how to learn how to learn. That's like meta learning. I guess meta learning. That's like 2 layers deep. You like gamification too? You have sexy games? You sure do, Dojo. Gotta strut your stuff. Okay, this is the third article. Do we want our students to struggle? What is your PhD in? Progressively incorrect. Like he's interested in teaching. Doesn't say what his PhD is in. Oh well. Okay. How long is this one? Not that long. Like so many buzzwords in education, it's hard to pin down what people mean by the term productive struggle. Of the 2 meanings of productive struggle I've heard being used most often, the good meaning is uncontroversial, and the bad, more popular, meaning encourages teachers to abandon principles of effective instruction. The good meaning. The first meaning, productive struggle, is when it's used as a synonym for rigor or challenge. This is the good meaning. Learning new things is often hard, a struggle, we could say, and we shouldn't dumb down the curriculum or ask for anything less than the best from our students. I recently overheard this first meaning of productive struggle being used by a teacher who was holding a student back during recess so he could complete his writing assignment. It takes him quite long sometimes to get something down on paper. I could just let him do audio recordings on his iPad like his last teacher did, but he'll never improve his writing unless he engages in a bit of productive struggle. Good on her, right? We should maintain high expectations of our students and address achievement gaps rather than excusing or ignoring them away. The problem is, this is not what most teachers mean by productive struggle. Progressively incorrect is a beautifully passive-aggressive phrase. It is, yeah. I wonder if it's like a podcast or something. Oh, I guessed it, yep. Looks like a podcast. Did I like Naruto? I never watched it. It's still like a funny name. I do like it. The bad meaning. Productive struggle usually means assigning unscaffolded tasks and intervening as little as possible. For example, I once observed a teacher who delivered the curriculum purely through projects and investigations. When students became frustrated during a task, she would say things like, I think you can figure this out on your own, or have you fully analyzed the problem? When she was confronted with the observation that most of her students seemed lost and dissatisfied with her methods, she appealed to the second definition of productive struggle. In this day and age, students need to learn through productive struggle. I could tell them the answer, but research shows they'll never learn it unless they figure it out for themselves. Failure is part of learning. but does the research really say that? Is productive struggle research-based? Over the years, I've observed several presenters at education conferences claiming that productive struggle is a research-based approach to teaching and learning. There are several areas of research, however, that seem to conflict this ill-defined hypothesis. For starters, decades of teacher effectiveness research suggests that the teachers with the highest achievement gains break materials down into small pieces, use scaffolds, and obtain a high success rate during independent practice. This is clearly not struggle. Second, the research on discovery learning has shown that withholding information and guidance from students harms learning. Third, cognitive load theory has run dozens of experiments to indicate that struggle is only beneficial up to the point when the demands of the task begin to overload students' limited working memories. In its most famous finding, the worked example effect, demonstrates that showing students how to solve problems is superior to having students solve equivalent problems on their own. I definitely benefit from seeing an example. While advocates of productive struggle are usually unaware of the literature I've just mentioned, I suspect they may be drawing loosely from the productive failure research due to the similar name. Productive failure researchers have produced some promising findings, but the procedures used in these studies prescribe a warm-up activity followed by explicit instruction, a far cry from the sort of productive struggle promoted by fans of the discovery meaning. We may one day find that engaging in problem-solving first prepares students for explicit instruction, but this matter is far from settled. Many of the productive failure studies, oh my god, are methodologically weak, and Van Harsel et al.'s review of available studies showed a slight advantage for starting instruction with an example compared to starting instruction with a problem. Okay. An interesting twist, some researchers have suggested that problem solving first might work when the material is relatively simple, low in element interactivity, while explicit instruction first may be more effective when the material is complex, high in element interactivity. Time will tell. One of my most effective teachers in college had a randomizer and would call on a random student as he went through the material. Everyone paid attention. It was surprisingly effective to keep engagement. Ooh, that's scary. But I'm not opposed to that. You never felt picked on. Yeah, like how can you get picked on if it's completely random? Um yeah, like as long as um like as long as like there's no shame in being wrong, which there shouldn't be, but it can definitely feel like it. Um I wouldn't mind being in a class like that. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I know objective, there's no shame in being wrong, but some professors definitely make it feel like that. Like, okay, yeah, great instructor, so good. And in that case, I think it would work. Spin the wheel, yeah, the wheel of shame. Um, I don't know, cause like, there's another thing where like, during the lectures for most of my classes, I don't usually understand it, but the understanding comes when I like go back through my notes potentially multiple times and like read it through a few times and like think about it. I don't know. And I guess what I'm saying with that is that randomly calling the students might not accurately measure students' understanding of the material by the time they're tested on it. But I don't know. Yeah. There's no like perfect solution. I'm not saying it would always work, but Dan was it effective in his case. Andy felt hurt. He knew everyone's name, so he had to be engaged and connected too. Ooh. Yeah. That it by learning students' names, that's already like a really good professor, because like, my professors certainly are don't do that for the most part. To add to the confusion, productive struggle and productive failure sometimes mixed up with desirable difficulties. Um, that's just, I don't know why that makes me laugh. Desirable difficulties are 4 learning techniques: retrieval practice, spaced practice, variation, and interleaving. That sounds very similar to the thing we just read. That have been observed by cognitive scientists in lab and classroom settings and grouped under a catchy name that sounds a lot like productive struggle. Similar names unfortunate because desirable difficulties has nothing to do with the reported benefits of having students struggle and fail during a project or an investigation. Instead, the desirable difficulties encourages teachers to elicit hard thinking by quizzing students regularly, distributing their practice over time, varying the conditions of their practice, and mixing in old practice items with new practice items. Class size is a constraint. I mean, if you, yeah, I guess like it's harder to learn students' names when the classes are big, but you can still randomly call them people. At least if you have the role list, people could pretend not to be there though, that day. I don't know, but I guess that's kind of why like Zach like eats a Tway Pie's like style of teaching like works as well it does, where he basically has students work in groups through a worksheet that is the lesson, like that's the alternative to a lecture. And so you're basically just like, it's very like scaffolded and you're guided through it, but you're figuring out the things that you would have been lectured on for yourself. And Dojo, what you're describing feels like somewhere between the two extremes of like completely lecturing and completely like student driven. Um, okay. In some, I'm unaware of a body of experimental research that demonstrates that students learn best when they are left to struggle with material. As the term productive struggle comes with a lot of baggage and ambiguity, I tend to avoid it and use challenge or hard thinking instead. This prevents my words from being interpreted as an invitation to use repackaged discovery learning methods that harm students' learning. The alternative to struggle, success. Do we want our students to struggle? Not really. As Andrew Watson wrote in a recent blog post, most struggle is not productive and most difficulties are not desirable. Every class has students who do not need struggle to be engineered for them. They struggle all the time to access the curriculum. Instead of designing activities that produce high rates of failure, the best teachers have been found to pitch lessons at a just right level to achieve high rates of success. If your teaching doesn't meet the suggested 80% success threshold, your students might be struggling too much. What is it? Ooh. That suggested by who? And what is success? Like passing? Maybe suggested by Andrew Watson. Why is it the same image twice? It's really... And one of them has a watermark. Oh, it's cropped out of this one. Success is procreating. Okay, Darwin. I don't know. Hey, Alex, welcome in. Uh, I'm a master's student studying for a master's in applied math. Um, so the things that I can like help with are like, um, you came with the TLDR at the end. That's fair. Yeah, they usually do come at the end, but they're probably better at the front. um, yeah. When it comes to like, uh, helping out, like if you have a question, the things that I'm the best at helping with are like calculus, differential equations, and things that are like earlier than that. So like pre-calc, algebra, trig. If you have a different type of question, like you can always ask it, and I'll tell you if I can help you or not, or if I have a thought, or maybe I know someone who can help. Um, if you're asking like what am I interested in general, uh, I like modeling and differential equations. I don't have like too much of like a niche that I really like yet, but like mathematical biology I think is super cool. Dynamical systems, yeah, stuff like that. He never did math. He's a scammer. Yeah, I just say random numbers and symbols and Greek letters. Um, I don't know how I feel about this article. I have mixed feelings on this article. I very much agree with like this sentence here. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We can talk about telescoping series. Do you have an example of one that you want to talk about? And if you're able to type out there in chat, great. If it's easier for you to do a screenshot, I do have a Discord server where we can post them. So yeah, so I guess like that's like the positive thing I have to say about this article, where like we shouldn't be designing for failure, but I feel like he's kind of saying like he says he doesn't like productive struggle, but the only reason he doesn't like it is because of people abusing the term. Yeah, it seems like he kind of actually does agree with productive struggle and how it's supposed to be. I was your first math streamer? Oh, hell yeah. I always loved being the gateway drug streamer or whatever. Oh, okay, yeah, that always makes it harder when you when English isn't your first language. Well, hell yeah, I'm glad that the timing worked out. Um, okay, so I love this website for all things calculus, and I assume you're in a calculus class, but if you're not, that's fine. But just so you have it, uh, it's probably here. Yes, they have a section on telescoping series. Yeah, the math streamers haven't been on a while. I mean, it depends which math streamers you're talking about. People kind of come and go all the time. This is the generalist people who I recommend. Um, there's also Math Pond, who's recently started streaming. He's been pretty active. But yeah, like the people who have been active recently are Actual Education, Ian Stuckey, Eats the 2i Pie, and Simplex Pachinko. The others are kind of like coming and going, and that's just life. But yeah. So Alex, I'm assuming that you're in a calculus class, so you understand certain things like limits. And if you need me to repeat anything, please do let me know, because I hope I'm not speaking too quickly. I think telescoping series are best seen through examples. So I'm gonna take this example from Paul and work through it. Oh, and also if you do go, did I drop the link to? Oh yeah, I did drop the link. If you at the top of your practice problems has a bunch of practice problems with solutions. So these aren't all on telescoping series, but like this one here should be. And what's in integrals? Okay, good. RTMC series, you run away. They're so helpful though. They are weird, but series are so good to know. Leo, we're talking with Alex about telescoping series. And Dojo, yeah, you're absolutely right. They usually come up through partial fractions. Hey, Ashwin. Alex, thanks for the follow. So here we're given 1 over n squared plus 3n plus 2. Oh yeah, getting used out of that hype command. You know, I think... Oh wait, I'm at that 1496, 1497 followers. Either way, we're closing in on 1500. So that's exciting. Okay, so... what I'm going to do with this thing here is I'm going to factor the denominator. Because I know where this question is going. The hint from the problem statement that it's going to be telescoping. I mean, so like I'm saying this in case sometimes in calculus they'll give you just the series and ask if it converges or diverges, and you have to figure out the rest. But if they say if it converges, find its value, there's very few series that we actually know the sum for. It's basically like geometric and telescoping series, and a few others, but those are the two like common ones. Yeah, so because they're asking us to find its value, thinking that it's telescoping is a good guess, and so to figure out if it's telescoping a thing like this, we want to start by factoring it, and it's just something that you kind of have to know, unfortunately. So this factors as n plus 2 times n plus 1. Oh, really? A log can produce a telescoping series? That's interesting. You tell it to be without computing it? I could if I thought about it for a bit longer, but we're about to find it anyway. Okay, so to figure out if a series is telescoping, first you want to factor the denominator, then you want to do partial fractions. So hopefully you know how to do this. I'll run through it here though. So to set it up, start with our original fraction, and what we want to end up with is something like some number a over n plus 2 plus some number b over n plus 1. And then I'm going to multiply there's shortcuts of doing this. I can never be bothered to memorize them, so I do it the long way. I'm going to multiply each side of this equation by n plus 2 times n plus 1. What we end up with on the left side is just 1. On the right side, this n plus 2 cancels with that n plus 2, so it's just a n plus 1. And then this n plus 1 cancels with that n plus 1, so it's plus b n plus 2. Now we want to solve this for a and b. So multiplying this out and this out, an plus a plus bn plus 2b. I feel like we almost have banana in here, but not quite. Now we're going to do something called equating coefficients. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing. Just have a banana in me. I'm going to group things based on their n's. So I'm going to group an plus bn, and then the constants a and 2b. I'm going to do a trick called equating coefficients, which is basically if we pretend there's an invisible 0n plus 1 here, because we're allowed to add 0 to things. In order for this equality to be true, whatever is multiplying n on the left side should also be multiplying n on the right side. Or like these two things need to be the same. So actually I can even factor the n out, a plus b times n. So like these both have n's here, so whatever's in front of them better be the same. So we know a plus b equals 0. And same thing with the constants. This one should be the same thing as the a plus 2b. And now we just have two equations, two unknowns, solve it for a and b. This is getting a little bit off into the weeds. This isn't the point of a telescoping series, but I'm just showing all the steps here to be thorough, I guess. Minus b equals minus 1, b equals 1. We're almost done with the partial fractions part. And so if b equals 1, from this equation, a equals minus 1. Okay. So coming back here, we can plug in a and b. So a was minus 1. So we get minus 1 over n plus 2 plus 1 over n plus 1. Okay, now we're ready to actually like see things telescoping. Let me go somewhere with more room. And I'm gonna reverse the order just to make it look a little cleaner. Okay, so at this point, we have something minus something else, so it looks pretty promising that this thing is going to telescope. But the best way to see it is just to start plugging in n's. So starting with n equals 0 and working your way up. So when n equals 0, we get 1 minus 1/2, right? Yeah. Now when n equals 1, actually let me label this. That's not n equals 0, n equals 1. When n equals 1, we get 1/2 minus 1/3 plus n equals 2. 1/3 minus 1/4. I'll go out one more. Actually, I'll go out a little further. So when n equals 3, we get 1/4 minus 1/5. Now, I'm not going to go out, well, what I should have done something slightly different. So I'm going to stop saying this is equal. what I want to do instead is, instead of having infinity, I'm going to have just a capital N. I want to start, for telescoping series, it's better to consider like a finite upper bound and then take the limit at the end, for a reason that we'll see soon here. So if we only go out to n many terms, I'm going to do a little dot 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 here. We're running out of space. I'm going to write the last two terms. So the second to last term is small n equals big N minus 1. So big N minus 1 is going to be just big N minus n plus 1. Plus, now the final term, uh, 1 over n plus 1 minus 1 over n plus 2. Okay. So this might look very strange, and it should, but I wrote it this way for a reason. Right. If you can do partial fractions, like if they give you this, you should always do, or if they're giving you this and they want you to find the sum, you should always try partial fractions, because it's probably telescoping. And so once you, the reason we do partial fractions is going to give us this next step that I'm about to do, and this would not be happening, or it wouldn't be clear if we didn't do partial fractions and we tried to plug in n's here. It just wouldn't be obvious, I guess. And I guess obvious is a bad word to use here, but the thing that I'm gonna do here is, I can notice I have a minus 1/2 here and a plus 1/2 here. So these two things are just 0. I have a minus 1/3 and a plus 1/3. These two things are just 0. This is the telescoping part. Like a telescope, you have it really long and then you collapse it down. This is the collapsing down part. Same thing here, like minus 1/4 plus 1/4, 0. The minus 1/5 inside of the dot dot dot, there's a plus 1/5, 0. So basically everything in the middle here is going to cancel. This is how we see planets and stars. Yeah, exactly. This 1 over n will cancel with something inside the dot dot dot. The minus 1 over n plus 1 will cancel with the n plus 1. And so, yeah, that's why, as far as I know at least, Raven. So what we end up with is just that first one and this minus 1 over n plus 2. So we're not done quite yet. They were asking us about the sum to infinity, and we did the sum to some finite number n. So we need to take the limit as capital N goes to infinity in order to get the answer to the question that they're asking for. This isn't really necessary, but just to make all the steps, write all the steps out explicitly. It's equal to the limit as n goes to infinity, 1 minus 1 over n plus 2. So 1 is just 1 in this limit. It doesn't matter. Oop, wrong n. This, as n gets very large, this term goes to 0. Because dividing by a large number gives you very small numbers. So we just get 1. So, funny enough, this original problem is just a really complicated way to write the number 1. And so because we got a number here, because we just got a regular number, we would say the series converges. If we got infinity or something that doesn't exist, we would say it diverges. Like if this limit here did not work out. But it does work out, so it converges. Yes, and 1 is the actual sum. So these two things are like the answer. It converges to 1. That's how I usually write 1. Oh yeah, Leo. Sum to infinity and beyond. No worries, Alex. Good luck with your test tomorrow. If you want to talk about anything else, let me know. Or if you want to ask something more about telescoping series, I'm happy to keep on going. But yeah. In general, infinite series / infinite products are very, very deep. As deep as integrals, lots and lots of work on it. Lots of Langland stuff says things about interesting number theoretic series. Interesting. But yeah, and so I put the list in chat earlier, but in case you ever do have another math question and I'm not around to answer it, there are other people who do this on Twitch besides just me. So you don't need to go and follow like all of them or anything. I'm not saying that, but I just like to let people who are new here know that this niche exists on Twitch. So just search math on Twitch, like in the search bar, or look in the math category on Twitch. Leo, I mean, I hardly know you, Leo. Do you do actual like live streams or just like videos? I'm the only math streamer. It's just me. Once every 2 months. Okay, yeah. I mean, I try to keep it to people who are more like active. You expect to be included? Well, too bad. I don't remember all the criteria for convergence and divergence. It's just a lot to remember. It's a really crappy part of calculus. Showing up random chats, that's fair. Like, how do you remember all this? How did I think like when I first learned that, I just had to memorize my way through it. I think I still just kind of have this stuff memorized. I just done it so much. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of intuition that goes into it that helps, where I can just look at a series and have an idea of whether it should converge or diverge. Yeah, I guess okay. There's something general I can say, which is, in order for a series to converge, the biggest thing you want to look for, if you just have something like completely random, I don't know. This is probably a bad example. I mean, okay, this example, I think it works. Like the biggest thing that I look for is whatever is inside here, does it grow or does it decay faster than 1 over n? Like I base my intuition off the comparison tests, I guess, where um I know how logs behave and how polynomials behave. Yeah, log. And so I just know intuitively this thing should converge because logs grow really, really slowly. So this thing is like 1 over n cubed. And I know that converges because it's a p series. I should put a sum there. So like there's a really significant breaking point with like 1 over n. This thing diverges, but as soon as you decay faster, you start converging. Like that's like the critical series to know, and like kind of compare everything against that. That's probably what. Like I guess I haven't put that into words before, but I think that's what I'm doing whenever I see a series for the first time. And then once you know whether it converges or diverges, it gets a lot easier to like choose a test, I think. I mean, usually the ratio test is what you want. Anyway. Really, if you have complex numbers in there, it converges? That's interesting. Maybe because there's cancellations. And you get those rotations in there. Oh, yeah, because that's basically an alternating series, just a little bit fancier. That makes sense. But yeah, that's like the intuition for when series converge or diverge. But beyond that, it is just memorization, though. Unfortunately, all those different tests. Once you get out of like your calculus class, though, you really only need the ratio test for like 99% of the time. Okay, so have I written any notes on this thing yet? No, I haven't. Um, okay, so productive struggle can be a good thing if it just means rigorous, but is often misused. To set students up for failure. Oh. Alex, thank you so much for the sub. Holy crap. You did not have to do that, but I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it would be great if I could do this for my job. So I do appreciate it. Well, that's obviously like not like a super realistic thing, but I do really like doing this. Um, what else do we have to say about this article? Big effort paid tutoring. It's all a sham. Um, your math over yourself? Oh, hell yeah. Are you a university student or still in high school or like uh it'd be interesting to hear like what your background is. Information theory stuff? I don't think so. I maybe have heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it. You're one university studying statistics. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but in Athens, Greece? Oh, that's amazing. Greece would be so cool to visit. Good luck with your studies. I did one more advanced stats class, and I thought it was pretty cool. With like how calculus like slots in so well with PDFs and CDFs and stuff. I should say probability density functions and cumulative density functions. It's great for vacation, I bet. Oh yeah, at MIT OCW is awesome. I've done their linear algebra course with Strang and really liked it. Yeah, it's such a good resource. Wait, actually, Alex, if you're still here, if you're Greek and you're doing math, do you still use like is it weird to use Greek letters for variable names? Because like I've always like wondered that. We're like at least in America we use so many Greek letters for things. This may be a stupid question, but like I guess we use a mix of like English letters and Greek letters. Do you also use English letters? I don't know. You get used to it. Okay. Do you ever rate Kasai or Kasi? I've heard it pronounced different ways. Is that impossible for Greeks too? I don't know. That's a good question. We use English letters as well for limits or x and y and f of x. Okay, that's interesting to hear. I feel like mathematicians started to use English letters and then they ran out. So they started using Greek letters too, and then they ran out of those, and then it just became like a free for all. Like English letters, no such thing. Is there a more general term for it? um, The X from algebra goes all the way back to Arabic roots. Oh, maybe. Is it called the Roman alphabet? Really? It's downstream from the Greek alphabet. Okay. I don't know. I'm not a linguist. Math, especially geometry, is first discovered in Greece, so pi and stuff like that makes sense. Yeah, that's fair. That's why alpha A, beta B. That does make sense. Okay. Wait, so if I just Google English alphabet, is Google going to correct me? Latin script alphabet. Oh my god! How did I never notice that? The word alphabet is a compound of alpha and beta, the names of the first letters in the Greek alphabet. Mind blown. Okay, but I guess it isn't the English alphabet. It's the Latin script alphabet or the Roman alphabet or whatever. Let's say the word for logarithm. It's also a word for wood. Oh no. That was like the first thing. Like, I was like, why are we talking about logs in math class? Then I learned it's about logarithms, not wood. Logs grow a lot slower than trees. They do. Um, Overall, it is much better to be rigorous. The best strategy is not to, again, I guess, is to be rigorous, but also to scaffold tasks and help students get through them, which I'm ultimately down with. You know, Urdu and Hindi are the same language but are written differently? I did not know that. That's very strange. I guess I could maybe see that if like two groups of people like started in the same area but then they somehow got split up. So and like they hadn't developed a written language yet or something. I don't know. Mandarin Cantonese are the opposite. Do I know programming? Yeah. For my bachelor's, I minored in computer science. The thing I'm best with right now is Python, but I have programmed in Java and C++, assembly language even. I'm not like the best programmer ever, but if you just ask me like the basics, I can definitely help. You know, Leo, those are some fun facts about Urdu and Hindi and Mandarin and Cantonese. It's because you're the best programmer ever and Don is the third. Yeah, it's true. Python is cool, very easy to understand. It is. As a first language, programming language to learn, I think it's maybe too easy. Like, there's a lot of things that you're not going to learn on Python that you would learn with other languages. But just to like get started with something, it's a good one. Yeah, same, Leo. I prefer like lower level. It like I it's okay, it's not easy to program, but I mean like Python handles so many things for you that if you only ever know Python and then you try to learn some other language, it's going to be a really rough transition because Python does data types for you is a huge one. Um, so if you learn Python and you try to learn Java next, you're going to be really confused about why you have to call your variables ints or strings specifically or whatever. I guess I imagine you would. Um, and I guess like in general, like there's not really like I don't think Python has classes, or at least you don't usually use them if it does have classes. I don't know. I don't. Why did YouTube automod that? You hate R? You've been doing data analysis for too long. I've written some really simple things in R. I don't really know it though. Come across R, be prepared. It's so weird. Oh, really? First programming language we learned was Pascal. Ooh. We learned Python in middle school. Wow, that's really early, but that's good. Like I think it's a good thing to teach students early like that. I found that in Chinese there are filler words that do not have any written word. Sort of like do not have any written word. So like they have like dedicated characters for is what you're saying? Linux physics or because we do have a written word for it's what you just wrote there, right? Middle school might be high school equivalent. Oh, I forget. Yeah, that is a. It's hard to like, like different countries do it really differently. But either way, like, it should be a more common thing to teach. Um, like start teaching students some basic programming young. Or at least have it as an option. Um, so there's only one last article to read before they leave the womb. Exactly. Yes. Let me see. So for this, read the abstract and the conclusion at least. Abstract, just one paragraph. Conclusion, how long is that? Oh my god. Get to the conclusion. There it is. Conclusion is. Oh wow, that's really short. We can definitely do this. Fort Gonzo. What's the question? Finish high school knowing integrals? Wow. I said in America that's like um only a small amount of students finish high school knowing integrals. Sounds good, Gonzo. In the meantime, until we see that question, let's start reading through this article. So, oh, the music stopped. I was wondering why it was so quiet. Ba, 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 ba. Where's my playlist? Oh, here it is. You know, I want to play the song. I haven't seen Fembox around in forever. We haven't jammed out to the song in a while. Highest education finish was middle school? What the hell, Leo? All right, see ya, Leo. That's mandatory in order to write the final exams to get into university. Interesting. Because physics has a big math component. Let's see. Assume two forces. Okay. So they make reference to a figure. We can probably figure out what it is, though, from the text of the question. So they act at a point. So y, the point we'll take to be the origin. So directed at an angle 65 degrees above the negative x-axis in the second quadrant. .60 newtons. Oh, we're doing significant figures? Bruh. Hey, S gained. No, ignore sig figs? Okay, good. Because sig figs are annoying. Magnitude of 7, directed at an angle 52.1 below. Teacher said fuck off. Good teacher. They're not bad to know, they're just annoying. Below the negative axis. X-axis. 7 newtons. 52.1 is a very specific angle. Like, we also learned graphing functionality announced in high school with derivatives. Oh, cool. First day, second sentence spoken. Okay. It's from College Board. Oh, okay. So yeah, we can definitely do this. So just as a bit of like intuition, for the resulting force, we definitely expect it to be pointing to the left, like some ways somehow, because both these components are pointing to the left, so the overall thing should be pointing somewhere to the left. Whether it's above the negative x-axis or below, I'm not sure yet. We'll have to do some math to figure that out. But it's always good just to have like an idea of what the solution should look like. But yeah, so from here, I would use trig to kind of break things down into components, and then we add the components. So we can start by looking at along the negative x-axis, along the minus x-axis. So the thing with vectors is that we can make them into right triangles and use all our favorite trig techniques with them. So if we want the component of this force along the negative x-axis, well, the angle that we're given is this 65-degree angle. So if we want the adjacent to 65 degrees, we want cosine. Yeah, as Raven says. So we know that cosine of 65 degrees is equal to adjacent, which I'm going to call F2. I guess we'll call it like F1x for the f1 component along the x-axis. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 8.6. Yeah, f1x is a little bit weird, but I don't know how else to call it. And actually, I'm going to make this just the x-axis. Like, you can do it either way. I'll make it along the x-axis and then put a negative sign in front here. Before I write anything here, though, I'm going to rearrange this equation to solve it for f1x. So multiply each side by 8.6. Just to isolate f1x. There we go. So this is one part of the forces along the x-axis. So I'm going to call it maybe f fr for real for real. R is for resultant vector, I guess. And then x is for like along the x-axis. So it's going to be the sum of the x components. So we have this going along the negative x-axis. So I'm going to put a negative 8.6 cosine 65 degrees. And by the same exact process that we did here, we can do the same thing for f2. So it's going to be another minus, because we know it's acting to the left. 7 cosine 52.1 degrees. And this is something you can plug into your calculator and find the actual x component of that force. And we can do that in a minute. I am going to do the y-axis next, though. So fry, fries. Starting with f1. Actually, let me label these so we remember where they came from. F1, F2. We're about to do F1 again. So we're gonna use trig. I would like fry with that. Just one fry. Sorry, I bumped my mic. I hope that didn't sound too weird. OpenStax the other day. Oh, good. Glad to hear it, Leon. So now looking at this right triangle again, we want the side across from our 65-degree angle. So oh, I am blurred. Thank you. That happens sometimes. Thanks for telling me. So this time we want the side across, so we're going to use sine. So sine of 65 degrees is equal to f1y over 8.6 hypotenuse. This broke the camera. It did. And then same thing, multiply the 8.6 over. And so here there's a slight difference because we know f1 is acting upwards. So it's going to be positive. So I'm not going to put a negative sign. And then with f2, it's going to be the same process, but we know it's acting down, so it does need a minus sign. So 7 sine 52.1. My camera is blurred. I turn on my phone's flashlight, close my eyes, point on my face for a few seconds. That sounds really complicated. Why not just close out of the app and then Or like, I mean, I guess it depends on the type of camera you have. For me, just like turning it on and off helps. Okay. But yeah, so these are it's calculator time now. We should plug both these into the calculator and get some numbers here. Oh, nice. I'll plug it in too. Minus 8.6 cosine 65 minus 7 cosine 52.1. Oh, yeah, if you're good from here, I can stop. But if you want to see it all the way through, let me know. For the first, for FRX, I'm getting minus 7.93. That makes sense, yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Linux, yeah. Sine 2.27. Yeah, I had that thought for a second that like, what if you're doing a test right now? But I was like, probably not. I have had someone who, I don't know if they were trolling me or not, but they at least said that they were currently taking a test and were typing in my chat with like their phone under their desk or something. I did not help that person out. um, but yeah. So for the x component, I'm getting minus 7.9 in the x, and then in the y, 2.27. And then if you have it from there, I'll just leave it there. But if you want to see the last bit of the question for getting the magnitude, let me know. Yeah, that was a weird day with Linux physics. I don't know how they were listening to me. Like, I've definitely done the strategy where you have earbuds like threaded through your sleeve, and then you just have your sleeve up and you're just like resting your head on your hand. So maybe that person was doing that. But that's still like, it's a lot to pull off during a test. Or closed caption, yeah, it's a good call. Might be a good idea to have your stream open while I'm doing discrete math on my exam. I prefer discrete math. You're not going to get much help from me anyway. I'm not very good at it. New technique. Oh yeah, like I was listening to. I didn't do it very often, but like if I wanted to listen to music during class or something, I would just thread my earbuds in there. Can't wait to get Calc PC help. Please don't cheat on a test using me. Can help you study. Can't help you cheat. Magnitude is bigger than 6, 7. It sure is. Your teacher create rooms with Faraday cage for testing. Some professors definitely want that. I mean, just having a person in the room watching the students is already a pretty big it already makes it hard to test or to cheat, I guess. But I guess I also had professors who didn't really care. Like they, like I'm thinking of one professor in particular last quarter during the final. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention, but he didn't seem like he was really paying attention. And it was like 45 students in the class or something. Like it's a pretty big class. You were going on Omegle asking weird people if they're interested in math? Omegle still exists? That's shocking to hear that Omegle exists still. I thought that we should have shut that website down a long time ago. I'm glad you found this too. If your alternative was Omegle, welcome to Twitch. Ugh. We have signal blockers when they close the exam room. Only cheat sheets. Ooh, that's serious. They revived it. Wow. Rate the senior classes: AP Calc AB, Calc BC, Language, Chemistry, Seminar, DC, Gov, and Econ. Well, I'm gonna be biased, but you're asking me to rate them, so I will. You used to do that on Omegle too? Oh my god. Okay, Calc BC, easy number 1. AB number 2. I don't know what Seminar is. I assume DC Gov is like federal gov, like just like civics. Civics, okay. Okay. My very biased ratings. Your CS students will have Calc 1 and 2 in discrete math. Okay, that's pretty typical for CS. Makes sense. Calc BC, Calc AB, big gap, chemistry, smaller gap, econ, big gap, language, civics, and I'm assuming this is one thing. Do I dislike economics more than chemistry? I think I do. Yeah. I do. Actually, no, wait. Language is last. Oh man, I hated English class. The teacher really sucked too, which didn't help. You might drop Lang. I mean, it's not a. I just don't personally. I'm doing this really biased. Just what do I personally like? If you're asking what's helpful for you, this list would look very different. Things now you can't have interest, so it's harder. Oh, weird. I hated open book tests because they were super difficult. I can only imagine open internet tests would be deadly. Now with Chat GPT. Open book tests, I wouldn't even bring the book. Wow. It's brave. I'm a fan of the like letting students bring in a little like note sheet. I think it's a good like compromise. Economics is fun. And there's probably some cool stuff in there if I went deep enough, but or like mathematical economics, I mean. But like just straight up econ, I really did not like the classes that I was forced to take during my undergrad. I don't know. Replace it with stats. Stats is like a good one, just like for life. The plus side of language is you can potentially get out of having if you're like me and you don't like language classes. You can get it over with now with the AP class and do less language when you're actually in university. So that is something to consider. Senioritis? Oh, senioritis is real. I don't blame you. We had an open book exam in my exchange and it was hell. Would rather have a standard one. The open book exams, I don't think I've had an open exam during a university class. Like in high school and stuff, they really weren't that harder. So I didn't mind them. The book doesn't help you? That depends on the class. If it's... No, I think I disagree. You still need to know your stuff because the book is too much information. But like if you forget a technique or if it's like a science class, like a chemistry class, I think the book can definitely help. It does when it's writing code on paper? Oh, that's terrible. That's like the worst way to do a computer science test. If I had to look inside the book in an open book exam, I would give up on that question. It would waste more time against other questions. That's fair. I mean, you definitely want to leave those for last. But yeah, if you're asking like what AP classes should you take, it depends what you're interested in and what you want to get over with. I took a lot of AP classes, and I did over school breaks during high school. I did community college classes, and that got me through a lot of early requirements for classes that I wouldn't really have wanted to take anyway. So there's something to be said for taking AP classes that you're not interested in, because I mean, that depends what university you're going to. If you have an idea of which one you want to go to, you should see what they take as scores for AP tests and what it gets you out of. I remember when our chem exam where it was open notes, so you made AI summaries for a whole 516-page astronomy textbook. Why are you summarizing an astronomy textbook for a chemistry exam, though? That doesn't sound helpful. Mine was in uni. I did an exchange in Germany as a second-year bachelor student. The classes were for master's student because they were the only ones in English. Don't know how I passed them. That's insane, Leon. Wow. Oh, for astronomy class. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, Gonzo. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad use for AI. I mean, hopefully you also know the material anyway and just using the AI to save time, but yeah. Leon, I mean, hats off to you for getting through that, though. That sounds hard. Python indentation you wrote is wrong, you get an F. That's true. And Python whitespace does matter. Because then we had to write Java code on paper? Disgusting. Okay, let's see if we can quickly get through this, and then that might be time to end things, but let's see if we can get through this article. Student satisfaction and learning outcomes in asynchronous online lecture videos. Ooh. Germans don't mess around? Apparently not. Had the worst CS quiz today. He can screw himself. Oh, I'm sorry, Gonzo. Our study identified online lecture video styles that improve student engagement and satisfaction while maintaining high learning outcomes in online education. We presented different lecture video styles with standardized material to students and then measured learning outcomes and satisfaction with a survey and summative assessment. We created an iterative qualitative coding scheme, coding online asynchronous lectures, COL, to analyze open-ended student survey responses. Our results reveal that multimedia learning can be satisfying and effective. Students have strong preferences for certain video styles despite their equal learning outcomes, with the Learning Glass style receiving the highest satisfaction rates. Learning Glass, okay. I don't know what that is. Video styles that were described as impersonal and unfamiliar were rated poorly, while those that were described as personal, engaging, and evoked positive, effective responses were rated highly. That makes sense. The students in our study rated lecture video styles that aligned with Mayer's multimedia learning principles as highly satisfying, indicating that student feedback can be a valuable resource for course designers to consider as they design their own online courses. Finally, provide guidelines for creating engaging, effective, and satisfying asynchronous lecture videos to support establishment of best practice in online instruction. It's surprising to hear that apparently even the boring lectures were as effective as the exciting ones. For the sucker, we're just reading the abstract and the conclusion, apparently. So let's skip down to the conclusion. As students being paid to participate in these studies, they will inevitably do better. Unlike public school kids, apparently don't have a shit to give. I mean, hopefully they get a diverse group of students. Otherwise, that's a weakness in their study. But we'd have to like dig into the paper more than I'm willing to right now. Ugh. As online instruction grows in the form of flipped classrooms, hybrid classrooms, fully online courses, and massive open online courses, identifying effective practices will be important for the guidance of future course design. Instructors will need to modify their pedagogies for teaching face-to-face courses compared with online courses, but an establishment of best practices could ease the transition to online instruction. The body of literature on learning outcomes, student satisfaction, and student engagement in online courses is growing, but some gaps still need to be filled. In addition to learning outcomes, the effective responses of students to online education can provide information on creating both effective and engaging online learning experiences. In addition, these findings can be particularly encouraging for students or for instructors and course designers who have limited resources and institutional support. Though the higher budget productions, the learning glass and demonstration video styles were the highest rate for student satisfaction, our results show that any of the 6 didactic styles can produce equal learning outcomes. The pen, tablet, and the slides on-off are less costly styles that can be recreated with modest resources. Economic and accessible alternatives to the interactive pen, tablet, camera, and video editing software can be used instead. Furthermore, course designers can implement our COL protocol and student survey. I need to read more than just this to understand what they're saying. What is the learning glass thing? Pedagogy is still used. And this doesn't. I assume the interesting thing that they've done here is like formulate best practices. It's not surprising that students prefer engaging lectures to not engaging to boring ones, for sure. Okay, let's go all the way back up to the top. Okay. I love they describe the learning glass thing. Oh, so these are for undergrad students. Is who they studied. Classic classroom, weatherman, demonstration, learning glass, pen, tablet, interview, talking head, slides on off. Oh, I hate learning glass. No, is that what learning glass is? That's my least favorite. I don't like videos that look like that. Give me classic classroom or pen tablet, personally. Tony Stark and no one else. Okay, well, what am I supposed to get out of this? What are their best practices? Let's look for that. Is this it right here? Okay, yeah, here we go. Lesson planning. Create an engagement with real-world challenges, case studies, illustrations. Consider using Learning Glass to take students through the process of problem solving. Using the demo on select topics. Large clear fonts such as Arial. Avoid wordy slides, long lists of text. Diagrams, illustrations. Yeah. Structured practice lecture in studio with a focus on pace, minimizing distracting gestures, receiving student faculty feedback on sample videos to meet student demands. Sure. Sounds good, Alex. I'm probably going to end the stream soon, but if you're not back by then, I hope you have a good night. If you have the stream open, I'll probably find someone to raid. Hopefully, if someone is streaming, you might end up on someone else's stream, just as a warning. Frame should include both instructor and content. Instructor should make eye contact with the camera. If using Learning Glass, instructor should wear black clothing. Using green screen, instructor should avoid green clothing. Yeah, okay. This is like basic video production stuff. I remember I was getting installed in my school's conference lecture rooms by physics proof. Professor brought in a whiteboard out of spite for the glass. Oh, that's funny. I like that. Create new lecture materials that are appropriate. Okay, yeah. This these best practices really aren't what I was expecting them. I guess content is what I was hoping for. Look at important points. Students can rewatch videos if they are confused. Shorter videos receive more positively. Ensure good pacing. Yeah. Speaker is visible. This, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I was hoping for, but it wasn't this. Out of this article. Oh well. This for yeah, I'm in like a little like once a week seminar class on pedagogy and applied math. So like just like teaching practices. And this is an article that we're going to discuss in our next meeting. So I'm just like I've been taking notes on a few articles over on this tab. And this is the last one that I have to take notes on. I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this one though. I might just leave it for later tonight. I feel like this isn't really telling me anything that I wasn't expecting. Well, okay, so when I say it, like a seminar isn't like a real class, it's something you do out of like interest. Um, there's no like tests or anything, and the homework is only like informal. Um, there's a world difference between college and high school though, and so I'm a grad student, so I'm going for a master's. But just like for regular college versus high school, like you choose your own classes. Um, or like you just like getting to choose your own path in general. They treat you like, well, like an adult. Like if you have your phone out in class, no one cares because you're only hurting yourself. Um, I mean, just overall, you're like way more independent, but it is harder. Like they expect you to be more self-directed. And all students have a hard time getting adjusted to that. So I have a bachelor's in applied math with a minor in computer science. I'm currently going for a master's in applied math. And so yeah, the um another thing in college and grad school is classes are worth like credits. I mean, I think that's true of high school too, but like classes are worth credits, and so a normal like undergrad class is worth three credits, and you need so many credits to graduate. I think a typical grad class is worth 5 credits, but then these little seminars are just like a 1 credit thing you do because you're interested in them, and you don't want to impose on your schedule like too much. I've applied to continue on for a PhD. Uh, it's very competitive, and I'm not likely to get in, so I'm likely going to end up having to work after I graduate. But like going for a PhD would be nice. If I don't get into continue on with my current school though, I don't know if I would try to apply generally for a PhD though. Again, so I've tried a few times, so it's a really stressful thing. In the PhD comic, I was very surprised grad school culture is similar across different fields. Uh, I mean, in certain ways, that doesn't seem surprising. Like grad school generally being a high stress environment, students feeling like traumatized, I guess. um, I don't know. PhDs are that competitive. How do physics majors stand? As far as I know, physics is. I mean, getting into any PhD is not easy. Um, it always does depend on the school. The school that I'm in is um they get like I forget what they said, but like from the general pool of applicants they get like at least 100, but I think hundreds, and they only accept like 8 or 9. um Out of the internal applicants like I am right now, they get like 25 and they accept like 2. The application is a lot like applying to regular colleges. Like you just look up the university's website. They ask you for like your basic information. Depending on the school, there's like they may or may not require it, but there is a graduate school equivalent of the SAT or ACT. It's called the GRE. Um, there's a general GRE test that's just like the SAT and ACT. Honestly, I didn't like personally. I hardly even studied for it because it like it basically is just a redo of the SAT. Um, but then there's these subject tests they also have that are their own thing. It's like the math subject test was insane, and I got wrecked on it. I think there's one for physics too. So, but not all schools require this, and especially when COVID hit, they couldn't hold the tests. So a lot of schools stopped requiring it, and they haven't brought it back, and they may not bring it back. But yeah, so like personal info, maybe GRE scores, definitely transcript from your undergrad, definitely a personal statement explaining why you want to go to grad school and what your goals are. Even better if you have research experience from your undergrad degree. But it's really similar to applying to colleges, just like as a high school student, which I guess you're still in high school, so you haven't had that experience yet, but or not like fully. I should tell you because I wish someone told me. PhDs in America are generally funded, meaning you don't have to pay for tuition, and they actually pay you a stipend, so you can like you're not going to get rich, but you're making a living while you're studying for your PhD. You applied to MIT recently summer program? Oh yeah, good luck with that. And so not only are PhDs funded in America, you don't typically need a master's to apply for a PhD. You actually have the option to it if you go from a bachelor straight into a PhD program, they usually give you the option to like get your master's along the way if you just want the degree too. It is a thing. And so theoretically, if grad school is a goal of yours, it is a lot harder to get in. Don't get me wrong, but you could apply for a PhD, get accepted for a PhD, and go earn your master's for free while making money. And then drop out after you get it if you don't want to spend money on a master's. Or you could go all the way through and get your PhD too. But so yeah, it is more difficult to get accepted for a master's for a PhD than it is for a master's, and it's very rare. But there is such a thing as a funded master's also. But yeah, I never thought of myself as someone who wanted to go to grad school until the very last semester of college when I was working on my bachelor's. And I would have done a lot of things differently when I was getting my degree if I had known that you don't have to go into mountain of debt to go to grad school by like necessity. So yeah, I'm telling you that because I wish someone told me that like it is possible to go to grad school without taking on a shitload of debt. What am I saying? I guess I'm saying that, Raven. If you do want to go to grad school though, take the hard classes while you're earning your bachelor's. It'll pay off both because it'll look good on your transcript and because you'll be better prepared for it. That's the biggest thing that I regret doing for my, or like that's the biggest thing I regret that I didn't do for my bachelor's. I avoided the class that sounded hard because I just wanted to get out of there. Yeah, I've loans still left over for my bachelor's. And then I am not funded for my master, so I am paying a lot. Um, but I figured out a way to not get into too much debt. So I'm paying for a good amount of it out of pocket. When does university pay off? Mine still hasn't. I don't know. I'm doing this because I like learning. I'm not doing it because I'm thinking I'm gonna earn more money. What when I graduated with my bachelor's, I could not get a job involving math for the life of me. I did get a well paying job, but I was basically like a human resources person. It was a pretty boring job, but I had a really good boss and a really good boss's boss. They compared medical doctor to UPS driver due to student loan. Doctor only surpasses UPS driver age 50 to 55. Wow, that's ridiculous. I imagine lawyers would be similar. That's still just like wild as a stat though. Still surpassed? Yeah, you just gotta play the long game. Get a PhD in physics, do research. If that does work, leave college for my master's. It's gotta go work for Lockheed Martin, get PhD later. There you go. It's a good backup plan. Yeah, and that makes sense. Linux physics, and they can presumably they can like get promotions during that time or something too. I just mean it's wild because of how much debt it's become accepted to take on. Um, like I feel like we probably generally need a lot of doctors, and we shouldn't be using like debt to like gatekeep them. But I guess people are willing to accept a lot of debt for the potential of a really good paying job. Make things explode and money, much money to help with debt. Physicists, if you get a physics PhD, you might not be making that much money unless you go work for Lockheed Martin or something. Rejo, I'm not sure that question is possible. I don't think there's enough information. Where does the clinic money go? I mean, I don't know how it really works to become a doctor, I guess. Um, I do think I want to wrap things up here, though, for the day. I want to go get some food or something. I'll figure out what to write about this article later. Um, yeah, I think that's it though. Um, so Gonzo, Rejo, anyone who's here on YouTube, thanks for being here. I don't know when I'll be back. Maybe on Saturday. On Twitch, we'll go and look for a raid. No worries. Oh, and Gonzo, if you don't know about him, there's another person who streams on YouTube. The second person in this list, his name is Actual Education or Dr. Gold. He streams pretty actively also on YouTube. He's on a few platforms. He might even be streaming tonight. I'm not sure, but in case you're interested in streams like this, You can go check him out too. No worries. All right. See you later, YouTube folks. Have a good night.